My understanding is that somebody just again attempted to alter the currency, I guess, on their act of illegal coinage that can be specifically tracked to my effort to make a public comment. And I have already provided what I needed to provide as testimonial evidence that I was tortured for nearly 45 minutes and probably the third most excruciating pain I've ever been subjected to when it comes to genital torture, because that was just the first of three and more times. And somebody tried to run some coinage scam based upon genitally torturing me. And somebody just tried to start it and it didn't work out. I guess they didn't follow through, right? Relatively speaking, it was just mild. Here's the problem. If there was ever anything legitimate in any way, shape, or form about you thinking you're entitled to engage in processes which code women's genitals and anything interfacing with or through women's genitals in any sort of commercial act for any reason, then you should have found a way to say so directly and literally and in a manner that would protect her rights. And every time you refuse to do that, what you actually do is reveal yourself over and over and over again to be involved in processes of torturing people for illicit and illegal commerce, as well as all of the things that come about from illegal and illicit commerce. You're not going to be allowed to get away with saying, well, if you don't do it, then we're going to have to go to the children. The fuck you will. I need today, it's August 7th, 2021. I need at least 9 other adult women over the age of 30 fucking 5 in the state of Texas to come out and say, fine, you want to coin my genitals for your commerce, then it's going to be official, it's going to be verified, it's going to be fucking public. And I don't want to hear you make any sanctimonious excuse about how you have any religious preference that thinks you're justified in chastising me. And if you go anywhere near a child, you will be shot to death. It is a capital offense to try to use children in acts of illegal coinage to launder money for acts of terrorism. And if you're doing it for anything other than aiding and abetting terrorism, then you'll make it public. You'll make it official. You will acknowledge whatever justified it and whatever gave those specific ladies the credit or creditability to be put into such a privileged and honored position. Any other attempt to do otherwise is going to be responded to with lethal force. If you try to engage in tax evasion or some other act to try to wave it off onto other people, there is more than enough evidence about what those schemes are and what they're doing. And I contend that by now, there are enough witnesses, both domestically and internationally. They know exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it. I would appreciate it if they were allowed to actually express themselves in a way that's dignified on their terms, rather than having to play into a projection of your Orientalism and your racism, trying to pretend like you can mimic them and then force anybody else to perform in accordance with what delights or pleasures you. It's not about your pleasure. You, need some extraordinary measures right now to deal with a crisis? Then you need to name what the fucking crisis is. I contend there's actually very few women that are actually capable of doing this successfully and accountably. You don't have a right to torture and intimidate people, even if it adjusts the levels to give you some sort of special stimulation that you're willing to accord a different value. You're not paying the fucking bills. That's what's obvious. Whatever you've been doing in this scheme has not actually been accomplishing whatever you used to justify engaging it to begin with. You've lost your authority. My name is Charity. I don't give it away for fucking free. You understand? I'm not your sweet Charity little street hooker that you could try to make into some meme. If you thought you were entitled to try to do what you just did, or any of these little acts, I don't give a shit if it's your well. I don't give a shit if it's your green energy paradigm. I don't give a shit if you're minting this across town in fucking Fort Worth. Whatever the fuck it is, you need to make it official. You need to make it explicit. You need to make it assured that it has the appropriate security, including any sort of safeguards to assure that nobody that is inappropriately engaged in any manner is to be held responsible for what you've already done, and that the measures are put into place to keep that from happening again. Otherwise, I'm going to consider it a threat of bodily harm up to and including an effort to sexually assault me with the intent to either compel my compliance to illegal activity or result in my death, and I will respond with all means available. And I will support anybody else that does the same. I need 9 other women, at least, in Texas by the end of this weekend to make a public pronouncement and or contact me directly who are willing to take this task on. If I cannot find at least 9 other women on an emergency notice of this sort, then that says something very profound about the faith and character of the people of Texas.